Good morning and welcome to the Sports Desk Live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Dan Nunez, along with producer Alden Iowani, our very special guest, Alamogordo head football coach AJ Cisco. His Tigers are 3-1 on the season, dropping its 21-14 decision, Piedra Vista on Saturday. Coach, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Ed.
You know, Coach started out, beat Deming, beat Roswell. It's funny because I'm the voice at Western. I think I told you that, and we played West Texas A&M on Saturday, and Josh Lynn is the coach at West Texas A&M.
Yep.
And I didn't know that, he was Jeff's brother. I'm texting Coach Lynn during the game, and I'm like, "Is that your brother?" And they put it on Western, man. They put it on Western pretty good, 58-28 on Saturday. You beat Albuquerque High, and then lost to Piedra Vista. Albuquerque High with Alberto Landeros. That kid is a damn tough back, man.
He's a spark plug, man. He's gonna make a lot of people look bad all year.
You know what I like about that kid is he'll run. They'll 8, 5, 7 chunk yards, 15 pop up, and talk mess to people too, man. But you beat them, and I thought that was a big win for your program. I lost Piedra Vista on Saturday. Tell us a little bit about that game because PV is playing pretty darn well, man. They're playing.
You go to Coach Al and his staff. They've had a really ton of success at their program for a long period of time. Coach Al's been there for 20-some years now. He was the defense coordinator for Coach Wilhite back in 2000 when I was playing at Roswell High, and they've had a lot of success. They had a great game plan against us. They came out and played really well, executed it. Their opening drive, I want to say, almost took 8 minutes off the clock before we could ever touch football.
Oh man, yeah.
And so they're very disciplined in what they do, running their flex bone offense, and they had some athletes that can make some big plays. And got to stop, went down, scored, and then we kind of spun our wheels the rest of the time offensively, and they kind of controlled the game. And it was 7-7 going into the fourth quarter, and they made a couple big plays, and we made a big play at the end and got the ball down at the end, and we were inside their 30 with about 15 seconds left and turned it over on downs. So, credit to Piedra Vista. They're a good football team. It's a well-coached group that's going to have a lot of success this year. We've got to handle a 7-hour-plus bus ride better than what we did. And so that's something that we got to look forward to going into the playoffs if we have to go back up there, is handling a long trip, because that's the first long trip we've had since I've been here.
Coach, I think these are high school kids we're talking about here. I think we need to remember that. Any team that has to travel 4 hours, 3 hours, it's different. And especially kids in high school, that's a long way. I forgot about that. And, you're not making any excuses. You had a chance to win there at the end. And as you mentioned, PV is playing some very good football.
They are. They're tough defensively. They had a good scheme against us to kind of eliminate what we do. So, all the credit goes to PV. They play better than us, and we're the better football team on Friday night.
Talk a little bit about that flex bone. Not many teams run that anymore, but talk a little bit about that.
We got into it when we got put into the 6A 6A classification 4 years ago. We had Clovis, and Andrew McCraw was the head coach at Clovis. And so he was running the Eastern offensive flex bone with a ton of triple.
That's right.
And so when we were looking for a game last year, we said, hey, what the heck? We might as well see if we can schedule PV. They need games. We need games. And that gives us an extra week of playing that offense before we have to play Clovis in district. And then Coach McCraw left in June, and they're running something completely different in Clovis. So the plan was to get to see that flex bone twice, and we didn't get to see it now. So. But it's fun. Coach Allen and his staff are great guys, and it's a unique offense that requires your teenage kids that are 17 years old to be disciplined the entire time.
Coach Lee at Eastern New Mexico does a great job in running that flex bone and run heavy, and then if you fall asleep, little play fake, they'll send the tight end down the seam and strike you there, man.
They did. They hit a halfback pass on us to go up 14-7 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, like you said, you got to be disciplined in defense, and you talk about schemes. It's a chess match, between. Any coach you're coming up against. I think you again tell us a little bit about beating. When I look at the Roswell score, Jeff Lynn is one of the most respected coaches in all of the state of New Mexico, and just a great person. I really like talking to Jeff a lot. He's a good man. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that victory there was like a little eye opener for everybody.
It was to everybody outside of our program. We kind of had expectations coming into this year, and then us getting that win over Roswell was a big deal for everybody else to kind of see that Alamogordo was going to be okay this year. We returned a lot of kids. It was special for me because that's my alma mater. It's where I graduated from, won a state championship at Roswell High. I have nothing but respect for Coach Lynn and staff, the success they've had the last 10, 15 years, 10 years is remarkable. And it could be considered one, if not the best program in the state, maybe the second best program in the state over the last 10-year span or not from what he's done and the success they had. It was a weird night. We had 3 or 4 lightning delays. We had another delay where we kind of had to evacuate the stadium, and that game was finished with no fans.
Wow, gosh.
So
That's a
it
long
finished
delay.
it finished right before midnight. So it was something unique that we've never been a part of, and having to deal with that in my 22 years of coaching. But our kids played well. We executed. We were very physical. Kind of controlled the game. Roswell went down, scored first. We came back and kind of took control of that and going into the second half. And then just kind of ran out the clock and made some plays when we needed to get off the field. But like I said, that was a big win for us in getting respect from everybody else in the state. But for us inside our program, we kind of had expectations of what we were going to do that night.
And, that's big, right? Everybody else, it might be eye opener, but inside the Alamogordo program, you put the work in, you expect. We've been here before. You don't want to say, "Oh my gosh," right? Because it's not the end of the season. Cleveland lost to Las Cruces, or Las Cruces beat Cleveland. I should say that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I should say. But the season isn't over. I had Mark Lopez on last week, and there's more football, just like you have more football. Tell us a little bit about not the revitalization of Alamogordo, but you and I talked the other day, and we mentioned the powerhouse that Alamogordo was, and you're getting that program back to what it was. Tell us a little bit about where the program is now, as opposed to where it used to be. I mean, you mentioned the base gave you a lot of athletes, and that's kind of changed a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about that.
You go to the base, the mission back in the 80s when Alamogordo had a lot of success when I was growing up as a coach's kid at Roswell High. Alamogordo was in the district with Clovis, Hobbs, Carlsbad, and Roswell. And usually the state champion came out of that district or the 2 teams playing for the state championship. So a ton of success. They had state championship game appearances, district championship appearances. But we also had probably about 2,700 kids on campus back then. From what I was told, the mission of the base changed in about the mid to late 90s. And so now we have the training base now. So a lot of the people out on base, their families are very young. So our elementary schools have huge numbers in that regard. So trying to get back to that point of the 80s is the goal. This is my 9th year here. Our participation numbers have increased every year to get to that point. We carry over 100-something kids in our football program now. When I got here, we were sitting at about 40 to 50. So the kids love what we do. They love the atmosphere we create. And then that's not just me. That's our coaching staff. That's our football players creating that. They go recruit the kids to get them in here. But that expectation of being successful is our goal. And when we had to come into this year, we returned the majority of our starters all returned from last year. We had high expectations of being successful this year.
And you've been there since 2017, 8 years now. And so you've seen the program. You mentioned the numbers. It seems like every program, and there's reasons. Back in the day, Highland had 70, 80, on the varsity. So many people suiting. I don't know if that many, but they had a lot. And numbers have dropped in football for whatever reason, and to a lot of programs. So because some parents don't want their kids to play football; they want them to play soccer.
Yeah, and that's not that's not an Alamogordo problem. That's not a New Mexico problem. That's a United States issue that participation numbers are dropping.
Yeah, they are, and the fact that you've got them, the numbers up over there tells me. And we talked about the days when Gary Veem was the head coach there, and man,
Silver Fox, baby.
Yeah, those Tigers were really, really tough, man.
Yeah.
Coach Veem went on to Rio Rancho to be the AD there.
He did. They got the press box named after him up there.
Yeah, so Coach Veem, man, and I remember Alamogordo and Highland had some head knockers up here at Wilson. I remember that. So you mentioned the success that they had back then. Some of the things that you did. You were Roswell assistant coach from 2003 to 2007, 2 quarterfinal appearances in football, and then a Hatch Valley offensive coordinator, head coach at baseball, 2009 to 2017, 2 quarterfinals, 3 semifinals, 1 state runner-up, and 1 state championship, and then you came to Alamogordo. Talk a little bit about the experience that you had as far as coaching before Alamogordo. That's a lot of experience there, and you learned a lot, I'm sure. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, coaching's kind of what I've always known what I was going to do. I mean, every kid has a dream to be in the NFL, like I did. Then I realized when you're 6'1" and slow, that ain't going to happen. I was blessed to grow up as a coach's kid. My dad was the defensive coordinator at Roswell High for Coach Bradley, and then my dad ended up taking over the head coaching job at Roswell High in 1993. So I grew up around that program. I grew up at every practice, football, baseball practice, as a little kid running around. So all I knew is I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. And when I got the opportunity and I got asked to come to Roswell High under Bob Hyder as a freshman coach, that was something I couldn't pass up. Got my feet wet, got in there, did that. And then he left, and Barry Chambers from Artesia and Deming came in as the head coach, and I worked 3 years for Barry and had some success. We got that program kind of going again. Made the 2 quarterfinal appearances. We lost to Landry Jones in '06. Which was a tough one, but that was a hell of a
man.
from our
That
team.
was on the pros, man. Yeah.
And so after that, I had to go finish my degree. I had to get paid to coach and find something because coaching don't pay the bills. So I had to go get my education degree. And then I got the opportunity. I convinced my dad out of retirement to apply for the Hatch Valley job after all the success that Charles Gleghorn had there. And we went over there in '08, '09, and I almost say we turned the program around. We had a tremendous amount of success for a long period of time over there in multiple classifications. And we were down in 2A, 3A, and then ended up winning the 4A state championship in 2015. But all that stuff I learned as a kid growing up, being around a bunch of coaches, sitting in the film room on a Sunday watching, being on the sidelines, being at practice, is stuff I've kind of taken into what I do. And then something that I'm not Coach Cisco. I'm not my dad. I mean, he's a grumpy old man that was very stern, and I take a different approach to our kids. And but I still have a lot of our beliefs, and you can tie a lot of what we do in our program goes back to Coach Jim Bradley. A lot of our stuff that we instill in our kids, whether that's the off-season stuff or just our character leadership stuff, I still have a notebook about that big from Coach Bradley that he had that we still use in our program to this
A little
day.
bit different. Coach, we're going to talk a little bit more about Jim Bradley. We got to take a quick break. We'll be back after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Waiting to snap. Here it comes. Pressure coming once again. Picked up. Gives it to Price. He's got a lane. Picks up the first down. A block. Can he get across? And he does. A little spinneroonie at the 2.
Harris is on to punt another one away here. It's a high end over end. Moorhead will get a chance at the 20. Flagged out on a block in the back. It's going to erase a beautiful return from Moorhead, who's still on his feet. All this running is for naught because the penalty is going to bring this one back. It's a shame because Moorhead just showed you what he can do as he gets pushed out of bounds at the 4-yard line.
It is a night game at Academy, but they got the roll-in portable light. So quarterback keeper Montoya, and he's in. Touchdown Huskies. So Hope immediately.
Back set. No one there to catch it at their apex. It'll be Ashley in the middle. How else is it going to end? Kaylin Ashley with force. Shotgun. Snap, gets it. Play action pass, fires. Breaking one tackle free. Nice move. There's a block. And this is going to go to the house. Touchdown time for Aiden Erickson.
Brown. Oh, had a man through his hands, intercepted. Huge play for the Huskies, room to run. Before he's pushed out of bounds, that's Matthew Wright.
Vargas back
Oh, no.
It's a loose ball. No signal yet. So last time it was one play to get him at first and goal. Going deep again. Has a man. Touchdown, Cougars. Dropped it in the bucket to Jeremiah Gutierrez.
He's got Session and it's caught. Session, nothing but green grass. That's a touchdown to Cisco Heritage. Second and 4. Wiley hands it off to Mitchell. Mitchell breaks the first tackle. He's got some room. Mitchell on his feet and he will score. Touchdown, D'Angelo Mitchell, and the Hawks are on the board first.
Huskies with the ball, first and 10. Montoya to the left. Montoya with the speed turns the corner. And it's a touchdown.
Eagle Greens and Turf are a family-owned and operated business with over 25 years of experience in the home improvement industry. They are your exclusive dealer of celebrity green, synthetic putting greens, and artificial turf. They also have artificial turf that is specifically designed for your pets. Eagle Greens and Turf are proud sponsors of ProView Networks and can make your lawn green all year long at 505-273-2744. Granite Passion are proud supporters of ProView Sports. They're located at 1309 12th Street Northwest. They're your one-stop shop for granite, quartzite marble, quartz, and install. Most jobs are completed in a single day. Give them a call at 505-242-1007. That's 505-242-1007. Burrito Express is proud to announce that we are the official burrito spot of ProView Networks. Since 1982, with 6 locations serving Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and Roswell, the question is, red or green? Let's go to the burrito. Visit letsgototheburrito.com and order now.
Hi folks, Morley Fletcher here, owner of Santa Fe Kia. You know, at Santa Fe Kia, we like the byline of Santa Fe Kia is where we treat you different. Some reasons why. I'm remodeling our facility to make it better for our customers. Our salespeople treat people with respect and the way they'd like to come and purchase a vehicle. That's why at Santa Fe Kia, it's where we treat you different.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Ed Nunez. Very special guest today, Alamogordo head football coach AJ Cisco. And AJ, your team 3-1, playing got Oregon Mountain, Hobbs, Carlsbad, Centennial, Las Cruces. It doesn't get any easier, man. And that's what Coach Lopez said at Las Cruces. You know, you got to get ready for Hobbs. There's very little time to say we beat the champs. Because next week, and Coach Lopez and I had Daniel Amaro on, his running back. We had him on too, and quiet kid, man. You know, you ask him stuff. Well, you know, we're going to do the best we can. And no emotion, but he does it on the field.
He's very good. He's extremely talented.
Yeah, you know what? Number. You know, I kept saying that, trying to hype him. Number 1 versus number 2, baby. Best versus best, and just real mellow kid. But he had another great game on Friday night. You know, without them, they don't win. But Coach, you know, I want to ask you a little bit about your playmakers, your offense. Nathaniel Best, your quarterback, 137 yards per game. Passing's got 379 yards rushing. Also, Bryson Bloom, 345 yards rushing, 6.4 yards per carry. We'll talk a little bit about your offense. Tristan Bowman, 5 receptions for 84 yards. He averages 16.8 yards per catch. Tell us a little bit about your offense. Seems like a run-heavy offense. Tell us a little bit about what you're running there.
We are. We got really good skill kids, but we returned 4 of our 5 offensive linemen from last year. And we kind of changed up who we were offensively in the past few years. We've probably gone as fast as anybody else in the state of New Mexico in tempo, and it's kind of hurt us when we play high quality teams like Las Cruces High or Centennial or Hobbs or those guys, because we give them so many more possessions per game, because we push the tempo so fast. So one of the things we did this year is we kind of slowed it down a little bit. We run a ton of option stuff. Now it's out of under center in the eye, it's out of gun. But we let Nathaniel Best kind of read a lot of everything we do offensively. So we're never wrong in a play call, because he is one of the better athletes. And he's one of the better athletes playing quarterback in 6A in the state. And then you got a kid like Bryson Bloom, who's a kid who's a 4.5 kid, 40 time and only a junior, and probably one of the strongest kids in our program. And when he gets loose, he's a downhill runner. When he gets loose, he can break one for 50, 60 yards. So we have skilled kids. We got skilled kids on the outside. The Bowman kid is one of the faster kids in the entire school. But everything relies on us up front. I mean, if you go back to the Roswell game, we threw it 5 times. And against Albuquerque High, we threw it 4 times. If we don't have to throw it, we're not going to. And we make no bones about it. Everybody knows what we're going to do. We're going to line up and try to be physical. We want to shorten the game as much as possible, eliminate possessions, and then prioritize us scoring on possessions. So that's our offensive philosophy. And if we have to throw the ball, we feel like we can when we need to. But we want to line up and control the game and control the line of scrimmage. And I think with our 4 offensive linemen, we got a left tackle that's 6'5", 315. That's a 3-year starter and 2-year All-State. Left tackle that's one of the better ones in the state. We feel like we can run behind those guys that are all returners and have a lot of success.
You mentioned the pushing the tempo, and that's what Josh Lynn did on Saturday against Western. Push, first drive, come to the line, boom, 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 no huddle, boom, boom. And it worked. It worked. But you mentioned you pulled back on that a little bit and to lessen the possessions of teams like Las Cruces. Carlsbad isn't bad. I had them last Thursday. They've got they've got some hitters like Cole McKibben at linebacker.
Yeah, he's a special man. He's a special one.
Yeah, saw him and Hayes Baum for Cibola. Gosh, they're two of the best. Two of the best football players on the field. But is that work for you? Limiting because I thought Coach Lynn had a great game plan on Saturday against Western. We just couldn't get off the field, man, and we didn't tackle well. So does that work for you? Because sometimes pushing that tempo is beneficial to an offense too.
It has. I mean, a funny story. When we got to spring ball this year, I told our kids to get in the huddle, and they all looked at me like I was crazy because the last 3 years we've never huddled. And so they didn't even know where to line up in a huddle. They were all just kind of standing in a blob. And so
That's kind of funny.
I said, "Oh, all right. Well, I forgot we got to teach this to you guys. We've never done it." It's the things I've learned from the way we ran our offense the last 3 years going in this year have helped us. When we get into a 2-minute drill like we did against Albuquerque High, that was no big change to us because we've gone that fast for 3 years, and we've got a bunch of kids who are 2 or 3 year starters on offense and defense that they understand the tempo we want to push and how fast we want to go. So we can change it in the middle of the game. Against Deming, we went tempo a couple of drives to just change it up and mess with them a little bit. But again, like I said, if we have a chance to slow the game down, that's something that we couldn't do in the past, was slow the game down and be consistent at it. So that's something that we really focused this offseason summer of learning how to control the clock. And then when we need to go fast, we will go fast because we still practice going fast in practice. We'll go tempo in practice, and whether we use it that week in the game or not, we're going to understand how to do it.
So you can go both ways, and that's good. And I got to say, you mentioned the linemen, and you know what? I looked at the line of scrimmage for us Western on Saturday, and gosh, West Texas A&M, you should have seen the size of those guys, man. And so physically speaking, they probably had us 20 or 30 pounds.
Oh yeah,
and that's tough. I think Western and Billy Hickman, they do a great job there. But man, those Texas teams are just hard for us, to compete against. That's just the truth. But that's got to be an advantage having, you mentioned your left tackle and your strength program, things like that. That's got to help in this division, division or district when you're playing in Oregon Mountain, Hobbs, or Carlsbad, Centennial with Coach Ocampo, man, and you've got Mark Lopez to finish the season off.
Oh yeah.
There's no easy nights there. So physicality matters in this district for sure.
Not in our district. I think our district's the toughest district in the state in 6A, because every week you got to show up. I mean, you go to last year, we finished 5th in our district, and we've lost to Carlsbad, who finished 4th by 5, and lost to Oregon Mountain, who finished 3rd or 4th or 5th by 7. So each week you got to show up and play. And then we played Centennial, and we racked up 400 something yards on Centennial. We just couldn't get them off the field defensively. So every week in our district, you got to show up to play. And that was one of the things that we went to our tempo offense is because we were kind of undersized. Trying to have a little gimmick to us and what we do. And then we realized that even undersized, our kids are so well taught and disciplined in how we do things that we can line up and slow the game down and kind of limit those possessions. The off-season weight room has been huge for us. We have our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Dreffs, hammers in the weight room, and we lift 4 times a week. We get after it. We lift heavy during the season. Mondays and Wednesdays, we are extremely heavy to make sure our kids can handle the physicality that 6A football brings, and particularly our district.
You know what? That's every coach has said that, right? You have to be strong, especially. You know, I was wondering about the game against Cruces in Cleveland. Who's stronger in the trenches? And Friday it was Cruces. We've seen this happen in Cleveland though. They lose one and then they reel off 10 and
Come back, win 10, 11 in a row.
So, tell us about your defense. You know, you've got Hockman with the sack, and you've got Strong, the junior, with a couple of picks, 2 picks for 33 yards. Tell us a little bit about your defense. It's Samuel Strong, who has 2 interceptions. Tell us a little bit about your D. They deserve some love too.
They do. They've kept us in the game. I mean, you go to Deming, we didn't play extremely well offensively, but our defense kept Deming kept Deming to 3 and outs and just kept giving us shots at the football. Albuquerque High got big stops when we needed to against Roswell High, really controlled, made Roswell High throw it a lot. Roswell High could never establish a run game against us. That's a credit to our defense coordinator, Coach Haney, who's bought in and has done a great job getting these kids to play hard. And if you watch them, they're going to run around the field and fly around and be violent. They're not necessarily the biggest kids, but they're well taught, well disciplined. And then we've got some playmakers. Bryson Bloom is a special athlete that we get to roll down and play as a strong safety. Samuel Strong in the back end as a safety. We do have a lot of kids that probably have to go both ways because they're so talented. So that's another reason why we shorten the game offensively and try to slow it down and not go tempo, is we can kind of save some energy a little bit because we do got to play defense against our district opponents who are extremely good on offense. You go to Hobbs. Hobbs ran a similar offense to us that we used to, and they're going to spread it out and run a bunch of choice routes and run the football, and they can push tempo. Coach Stevens and Coach Robinson done a great job. You go to Centennial, I consider Aaron Ocampo one of the best offensive minds in the game. I mean, he is creative in what he does with his offensive personnel groups. Coach Lopez, I mean, all those guys are 3 or 4 year starters now for Cruces High, and they're very good, and they use the 2 tight end sets and motions. So we had to get better defensively. Coach Haney has done a great job getting those kids to buy into that and have a lot of faith in it and trust it and have fun. And if you watch us play, they're going to fly around and run to the football, and you'll see a ton of black helmets running wherever the football's at.
You know what people need to understand, and I'm glad we had you and Coach Lopez, a little Southern visit, right? A little Southern taste, that there is more to football. I mean, all due respect to Cleveland, they're dang good. So is the Cueva, they're very good. But there are other teams too, and I'm glad we're visiting with you. We've got about a minute left. Tell us what Alamogordo has to do to make that championship push.
You know, we got to be more consistent, and that starts in Monday through Thursday in practice. And that's something that has to come from me as the head coach. I got to get it out of our kids because they're teenagers, and every day is a new day with a 17-year-old kid and what they're going to be going through. But we got to be consistent and then be excited for the opportunities. I mean, we only have 5 more games left this year that are guaranteed, and be excited for those opportunities. Have fun with them because they don't come along very often. One of the things I tell our kids, when football's over, it's over. You don't get to play it ever again. It's not like basketball. You can go play pickup basketball. So we got to relish every opportunity we got and be excited. And our first big challenge is to play Oregon Mountain on Friday. And every week we talk about our kids. We're only focused on being 1-0. And so our kids know that our goal is to be 1-0 by about 9:30 on Friday night against a high-quality Oregon Mountain team that's had some success and played with some people.
Coach, one game at a time. Starts against Oregon Mountain. You've got Hobbs, Carlsbad, Centennial, and Las Cruces, and not one day off, man. Not one. So, you know.
Gotta love the life, baby.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad like we said, we had you and Coach Lopez on back-to-back. Alamogordo boys football coach AJ Cisco, we thank you so much for being our guest on the Sports Desk and wish you the best of luck the rest of the season.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate what you're doing to highlight New Mexico kids.
Yeah, Coach, I'll tell you what, it's an honor. I'm glad we're able to do it. For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.